Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're rookie, consider this your digital hug. I was wondering if there are still suitable works related to killer animals, and I think I found it. Anyway, most of it is really cool. Before we move on to the birds of death, I will ask you to support my channel with a like and a subscription. Your activity is very important and helps my channel to grow. And now we turn to the manga. Our central character is Akeboshi Kurou. One of the main characters, Toki, is also the main character, Hinata Haru. I'll call her Hinata. The girl who will join her a little later, and Dr. Asanoda. Manga begins with a man with a badly injured hand running down a corridor, on both sides of which there are bird cages. A voice from a megaphone informs about the state of emergency, and that the isolation of a certain sector begins. The runner repeats on the move so that he is not left. But he will not reach the door. A giant mutant raven bites off his head. Our main character Akeboshi Kurou is a prisoner who is going to be transported by plane from Fukuoka to Tokyo prison. He is sitting in the cabin in handcuffs with the officer represented. Their flight was delayed due to the appearance of an abnormally large flock of birds in the air. Akeboshi hears shouts in the cabin, "Let me go," and sees a teddy bear looming in the air. This is a little girl who is floundering in the strong grip of a bald man in a black suit, insulting her fellow traveler. In fact, it would be better for him not to interfere in such a situation, and there is little that can be done. But the girl alone looks like his younger sister. A plush toy accidentally falls into his lap. Picking it up, Akeboshi passes it to the guard. A little later, he fell into a dream in which he met his younger sister. She asks her brother Korma not to stay late and come early today, and he promises that he will do so. In the cockpit, the staff tensed up in the form of blackbird wings. They have a strong feeling that something serious is going to happen today. And it happens. Armed men immediately appeared in the passenger compartment. The unknown first shot through the head of the officer presented, as well as Bosi Korm. The bald guard of the little girl immediately took out a weapon and surfaced to the shooter, but was shot in the back of the head by his accomplice. The girl dropped her teddy bear on the floor. The bandit did not give her the opportunity to pick up her favorite toy, instead picking up the child, and commanding the others to gather in the cockpit. Seeing her face, Korm understands that he has to do something. While he is thinking, something starts outside that attracts his attention. This is a cloud of crows, which is getting denser. Just one bird caught in the engine is enough for the plane to crash. In the cockpit, having broken through the windshield with its beak, the crow got stuck. The kidnappers, meanwhile, command the pilot to change the direction of the aircraft. But maneuvering in such an environment is very dangerous, so the pilot is against it. In such a situation, you need to gain altitude first. The bandits want to say something, but instead they ask, "What the hell?" Akeboshi Kurou is trying to figure out what's going on. Looking at the bear lying on the floor, he thinks that he should not interfere, but he remembers the girl. The hands themselves reach for the toy. The bandits notice the movement. The prisoner puts the bear on the back of the chair, attracting the attention of one of the bandits. As soon as he approached, Akeboshi jerked out of the row and knocked the kidnapper off his feet. His partner, who was also in the cabin, reacts, but not fast enough. The prisoner, picking up the pistol of the first, knocks the weapon out of the hands of the second with a shot. And he immediately runs away. Kurou runs into the cockpit, which is almost covered with blood from the ceiling to the floor. All the bandits and pilots were brutally killed. Some of their limbs are missing, their eyes are pecked out. Everyone is dead except for a little girl who looks like the prisoner's sister. She immediately says run. Something that looks like a large crow with a human head swoops down on the feed from behind. From surprise, the prisoner falls to the ground, dropping the gun. At this time, crows had already flown into the salon with the others. The monster that pounced on Akeboshi opens its toothy mouth, flying straight into the face. But the prisoner manages to defend himself, using a chain of handcuffs put on him. But not for long, the creature quickly bites through the chain. There are more and more crows around the plane. Both engines have already been destroyed. Taking advantage of the shaking, Akeboshi hits the mutant on the head and runs to the gun. Grabbing a weapon with his right hand, he immediately takes damage with his left. The half-raven caught up with its victim and sank its fangs into his shoulder. And Akeboshi Kurou took advantage of this by shooting the monster. A steep dive, the plane began a sharp decline. While the plane is falling, and Akeboshi understands that the situation is hopeless. Suddenly, the girl hugs him and starts crying. The heroes fly out through the windshield. In the air, Toki's sad gaze is filled with determination. She lets go of the book, and then picks up the prisoner, exposing her white wings. The plane crashed, the crows continue to circle over it. The next chapter begins with her scratching her right hand, releasing drops of her blood on Akeboshi. When he comes to, the girl calls him Uncle Savior and jokes and shows that she is not dangerous. He asks if everything is alright with him, if nothing hurts anywhere. From the inhuman appearance, Kurou is frightened at first, but when the girl closes herself, saying that she only wanted to save him. The former prisoner pulls himself together. He introduces himself, declares that he is only 25 and he is no uncle. Then she says that it's better for her to hide her wings because other people may misunderstand. The girl stretches out a clawed bird's paw and introduces herself as Toki. Then she happily notices that Akeboshi's food is exactly the way Mashutka described it, and smiles, saying that the guy is a little clumsy. A large flock of birds flies out from behind the trees. These are mutated shrikes. Following their appearance, other people run out to meet the heroes, those who are trying to escape from a new enemy. Shrikes quickly catch up with their victims, pecking them to death. There is no point in running to the mountains. The birds will quickly catch up with them. Therefore, Akeboshi decides not to help the others, but to take Toki and go down the steep slope below. Some decided to follow his example, while the rest died. Immediately we notice that someone is watching the heroes through the camera. The survivors, continuing to discuss in fear what it was, followed Kurou and Toka. One of them thanks the main character, but in response he says that instead of gratitude, it would be better if the unknown tells his friends to shut up. They make too much noise, and this can attract the attention of birds. Then one of the girls sees a frog impaled on a branch and gets scared. She says it's not just a plot with trees, they're in Sarakopit's lair. These small birds have a habit of planting small animals on tree branches. This is how they make supplies for the winter. Suddenly one of the older girls' phone rang. She immediately dropped the call, but it was too late. The birds picked her up by the arms, carried her away and planted her on a branch. Then we see dozens of human bodies hanging over the heroes. A whole swarm of birds with human heads and in the remnants of clothing appeared from above. All of them rushed after the fleeing ones, greatly reducing their ranks. Snatching them alive, the half-birds began to plant these people on trees, instinctively making supplies for themselves for the winter. Continuing to run, holding Toki in his arms, Akeboshi frantically thinks how to break away. He tries to run ahead of everyone, using the survivors as a human shield. After all, before getting to him, the monsters will certainly catch those who are closer. One of the girls is dragged back. A mutant in a beanie swoops down from above, who accidentally drops a photo with the inscription Utah, which depicts a woman and a boy. While the mutated Yuta digs its claws into its prey, Tokyo decides to release its wings again. She bites herself, releasing blood, and the rest of the mutants immediately began to pursue. Finding the crippled Yuta and the girl and her friend, Akeboshi dragged them to the cable car. Everything inside the funicular started moving. After opening the door, Akeboshi shouts Toki to come back. The bird girl is already flying towards him, fleeing from a dozen pursuers. The main character catches her blonde Hinata, immediately closes the door. The wounded woman with glasses starts screaming, calling Toki another demon from the island. Birds appear behind. Clawed paws break through the glass and grab the wounded woman, trying to drag her away. Toki stretches out his wings, grabbing the girl with glasses, but she hits the child in the face with screams, "Don't touch me, monster." The birds retreat, taking the wounded with them. The camera captured that, like the others, she was impaled on an antenna before starting to eat. The voice of the unknown who was watching everything calls Toki an angel and says that heaven did not want to take Akeboshi food, and for this he should be grateful to his companion. They show us a man in a bird mask who says, "Protect the angel, bring the angel, give your whole life for the angel, until you yourself killed and ate her." We see that feathers have begun to grow from the wound left by the raven on the body of Akeboshi. A parrot jumps alone through the deserted ruined city, which repeats that they have big problems. Escape. They're getting closer. We need to inform the boss urgently. When they got to the store, our heroes tried to contact the police, firefighters and doctors. No one answers. Their new companion, and the only survivor of that group, says that probably they have all been eaten. Hearing this, the Akeboshi think that along the way they saw the faces of blood, but did not see a single corpse. If someone was not eaten, then they had to help him. In such cases, there should be emergency evacuation points. There should be shelters, you just need to find them. Seeing Toki's bird legs, the ex-prisoner recalls how the girl with glasses screamed that the child was a monster. Picking up the little boots, he bent down and put them on the girl. Smiling, Akeboshi says that now he will have to wear them, even if they are not very comfortable. But Toki seems to be only happy with such a gift. Suddenly, the sound of breaking glass is heard. The bird flew headfirst into the window, announcing the alarm that the targets were spotted in the area of the nearest high school. And then flies away. The boots for Toki are in fact considered stolen, so despite the apocalypse, the former prisoners ask their companion to pay for them. That's when we find out that her name is Hinata Haru. A little later, arriving at the place about which the bird spoke, the heroes see hundreds of refugees. Judging by the appearance, every person here has been attacked. Many have bite marks and fever. Then Akeboshi notices that his own wound has suddenly healed. Grandma addresses Korm and Hinata, calling them a couple. She invites them to sit down, seeing how tired the little girl is. With a smile on her face, she shares food and water with the arrivals. According to her, it all started 2 days ago. Experts themselves do not know what it is, a mutation, a kind of rabies or something else. In this place, Dr. Asanoda gathered everyone alone. Easy to mention. And here's the doctor himself. Approaching Eboshi, Asanoda immediately says that the arrivals cannot hang around here until they pass a full medical examination. They will be separated, examined, and treated with chlorine and alcohol. Complete sanitation, especially of those who have been in contact with mutants, is of paramount importance. Those who have wounds will remain in the hall, and those who manage not to receive any damage will be transferred to another room. It dawns on Akeboshi that if Asanoda examines Toku, he will see all of her bird-like features. At first he gets scared, but then suddenly calms down. No matter how much they run and wherever they go, sooner or later someone will find out about its features. Korma asks her grandmother to look after the current. He'll go first, clenching his fist to such an extent that blood started to flow, and Keboshi throws a current. After the examination, he and Hinata are transferred to another place. Sitting in the dark with the other survivors, suddenly Hinata asks if it's good that they left the girl. The main character replies that he himself does not know what is wrong with her, only she is sick, whether she is a person or a monster. And maybe showing her to a doctor is not a bad idea. Hinata says he doesn't know anything about them. In fact, they only met, but one glance is enough to understand that Toku believes Wakeboshi, so he should not throw her. And shows a handcuff bracelet, saying that they were not together initially. Tomorrow, he planned to go to the police to turn himself in as a fugitive criminal. A grandmother can take better care of a child than he can. Later, a man appears with a lamp and asks everyone present to start praying. Kneeling down and folding their hands in front of them, people begin to cry, apologizing, and saying goodbye. Suddenly, a burning bird flies past the window. I had just woken up a few minutes earlier. Asanoda and an assistant examine a grandmother who has already mutated into a hybrid. Remembering the kind face of the old woman, only screams and falls. The boot flies off, and Asanoda sees a bird's foot. He concludes that the girl has already mutated too. Dragging the child and the old woman, they lock them in the back of the gym. Asano interrogates to understand him correctly. He is forced to do everything to protect those who can still be saved. Mutation is a plague, purifying the plague only with fire. Leaving, the doctor bios a kerosene lamp on the floor, filled with gasoline. Kurou and Hinata rush down to the burning gym. A crowd gathered around. Korra asks for water to put out the fire, but Asanoda, who came out to meet her, declares that everything is going according to plan, and asks everyone else to return to the building. There is no reason to worry, the doctor says. They must die. And Keboshi Kurou does not agree, but Asanoda only helps people, and for those who are inside. It is too late when the apocalypse has just begun. He was in the hospital and saw how patients with the same symptoms appeared one after another. They all had something akin to rabies. So, one night 2 or 3 days later, he went out into the corridor, surprised that no one had called him yet. Entering one of the wards, he witnessed how a nurse who had been bitten earlier mutated and began to eat one of the patients. It's time to leave. The fire is already attracting the attention of other birds. Asanoda says that it was necessary to close Toki's mouth, so you wouldn't have to listen to her clicks. Angry, Akeboshi grabs his clothes. He asks, what would he do if there was someone close to the doctor inside? The second one answers the question with a question other than standing silently and watching. What exactly can you do? Then the main character is overwhelmed by memories of his younger sister who has disappeared. In the flashback, he is going to go somewhere and asks her to stay at home. In response, the girl asks to promise that Akeboshi will return home early. The guy made a promise, but he didn't keep his word. Wrapping a rag around his face and pouring water on himself, he opens the door and runs into the room engulfed in fire. As soon as the door is closed behind him, and Sonoda commands the rest of the survivors to close the door behind him. Having lost her mind, meanwhile, the mutated grandmother is already preparing to attack the child. There is a terrible picture inside the hall. The survivors, who have already begun to mutate, are screaming in pain. He won't be able to help them anymore, but he will try to pull out at least a current. Clutching a tire iron in his hands, Kura ran in search of a girl who was locked with her grandmother in the back room. The mutant is about to attack, but suddenly gets distracted by a basketball. The temperature in the room rises, smoke begins to penetrate through the cracks. Meanwhile, the half-birds who had already lost their minds attacked Akeboshi. There are more and more of them. And thinking that it's all his fault because Akeboshi Kurou threw the sense the same way he threw his younger sister. He begins to reminisce again. He and his sister were always just the two of them. Kurou was the only one who could protect her. Every morning she walked him to work with an innocent smile on her face and continued to smile, even if in fact she was pining. Removing the bandage from her face, and Kiyoshi shouts, asking her to answer. The girl realizes that Kurou has come for her. She shouts, "I'm here." And the guy finds the strength to fight the birds. As he approaches the door, he sees a small boot. Behind the door, the mutated grandmother pounced on her prey, but crashed into the door in flight. The metal has heated up so much that it melts the creature's face. Toka asks Grandma not to attack, but nevertheless, the creature is going to attack. Then the door opens, and her head is smashed by the tire iron that appeared. Akeboshi hugs the girl to him, and she begins to cry. The main character promises that from now on he will never leave her again. She would never be alone again, and he would always protect her from now on. It's time to get out of the building, but suddenly the eyes of a giant something appear in the windows. Then a huge beak breaks through the wall, grabs another mutant. There's panic outside too. Hinata is worried that Kirill and Toka still haven't come out. The doctor orders everyone to evacuate. All this happens while no one can take their eyes off the giant bird at the school building. Inside, Korm realizes that the door has been locked behind him. There's no way out here, and the giant raven has already crawled inside. The main character tries to escape from him, noticing a hole made in the wall by a bird. Except it's high, which means they'll have to climb to the second floor. Because of carbon monoxide, he is getting worse. After going upstairs, he tries to reach the exit. Akeboshi got a lot of burns. His throat is burning, his eyes are blurred, his head is spinning, and they are also being chased by burning mutant birds. When he reaches the edge and jumps, a creature is already diving at him from above. Turning around in flight with a blow of his hand, the hero breaks her neck, wondering himself how he had the strength to do it. The giant raven roared, while the mutants still burned out flew out. The main character sees a picture with a phone, and as soon as he scratches his hand and drips blood on it. Here I have to digress to clarify the situation between the fall of the creation of the school and the awakening in the car. An important event occurred, but which for some reason is served after the fact, and as if we already know what it is about. After the heroes got out, and Sanada gathered the survivors, they took cars and headed to the hill together to evacuate the city. But that's not all. A telephone conversation took place in the city between Core and the unknown person who was watching the cameras. According to him, the masked man's name is Scarecrow. He said that Korra should bring the angel, that is, Toka, to him in Tokyo, because Toka is the key to stopping the virus. We were also shown a beautiful 2-page spread with a view of the burning city. As soon as he sat down with her, Korra lit a cigarette and suddenly heard about the girl. "Me too. I'll never leave you." Then we see the Scarecrow, who says that he forgot to tell us something else, that the coral is also infected. But the Scarecrow will definitely take care of it. The survivors took refuge in the house of one of the locals, where the birds have not yet reached. The rest of them will wait another day, and then they will have to move on. Initially, the Koran and how they were not joined, having found another shelter, but it was engulfed in fire. There was nothing left but to join Asanoda. At first, the doctor didn't want to take them, but then he gave up on the condition that she was watching the girl. Most of the birds are in the city, but it's still dangerous to stay in place. One way or another, food and medicine supplies are running out. Early in the morning, everyone will go on the road. When Dr. Asanoda finished explaining his next steps, Korm came closer to ask how Toki's examination went. In addition to obvious changes in the structure of the body, the doctor did not find any anomalies. The main character asks if he is going to harm Toki. He saw everything that was happening in the hall. Most of the infected still retained their human form, and the screams coming from the flesh-devouring flames did not all resemble the cries of birds. "How can you call yourself a doctor after that?" asking Takeboshi. But the doctor has no desire to discuss it. And there's no need to talk about it, because if he was so worried about everyone, why did he try to help only one current? Instead, the doctor suggests paying attention to the girl. She has a slight fever, most likely a cold. But it would be better if Akeboshi looked after her. Meanwhile, Toka herself got out of bed, took a mug from the kitchen, dripped her blood there and put a tea bag. She was going to make tea, but there is no water to drink, you need to go to the river. A little later, everyone went outside to get water. The owner of this house went with them. His name is Timmy, his daughter is about the same age as Toka. In general, he thinks that Kurou is the baby's father. Misaki, Timmy's daughter, has already become very attached to Toka. Listening to Timmy's sugary sweet speeches about what Akeboshi only says for sure that he loves him. Simultaneously taking water into a canister, the main character himself remembers how many he has already killed. About them, Asanoda said that bitten people inevitably turn. And hence the question, why then with the core itself, all these metamorphoses have not yet begun to occur? Hinata went out of the house to the street, where her friends Toki and Misaki are already sitting together. Adults ask them not to sit like this so as not to catch a cold. Toki responds with a sneeze. The girl says she can't leave because she's worried about Korra. Then Misaki asks in surprise, isn't Akeboshi her father? For Toki, Kurou is a special person who saved her when the others were afraid of the girl. Misaki replies that her friend is not so scary, but Toki, without showing her appearance yet, continues to insist that she is a scary child. And Luki at this time, right in front of Akeboshi and the theme, the birdman fell, dropping the phone. He's screaming, transformed into a pheasant right now. This bird species has a loud cry aimed at attracting females to mate, but most importantly, it can attract the attention of other mutants. And Sananda insists that Korra kill him while he can't move. It is necessary that he did it in order to harden his heart. The doctor starts the countdown. The main character swings a shovel, but suddenly the pheasant man's phone starts ringing, voicemail turns on. The pheasant was called Taka. His mother calls him, informing him that he and his father have already evacuated. Now she wants to know that everything is fine with her son. She asks Takao to be careful and promises to call again. Obviously, not having completely lost his humanity, the pheasant begins to cry. Mom says the last words to Takao, please thank you, and Asanota first cuts the mutant's throat with a scalpel, and then sets it on fire. Didn't you make a choice? The doctor asks. When everyone came back, Timi rushed to his daughter with the words that he tried very hard today. But Misaki is looking for fodder to say that Toki has problems. The girl has bad symptoms of pneumonia, the disease is being treated, but medicines are needed. Akeboshi Kurou bows his head to Asanota, asking him for help. Let him tell you what you need, and the main character will go to town and get everything you need. Hinata is against it, because the city is completely under the power of birds. Tamiya volunteers to go to the ambulance. Misaki has asthma, so she also needs medication. His nameless friend in a bandana is also volunteering. Toka is very special. Her body can serve as a solution to this whole problem. And Sonoda cannot entrust everything to such an idiot as Kura, and therefore she will go with the others. They went at night. Hinata was left to look after the girl. So, the heroes stay in the polyclinic. There is a strong smell of blood inside the room, traces of chaos everywhere. Tamiya first finds the nurse's body with her eyes pecked out. After reviewing the map, the group moved up the stairs, meeting corpses with empty eye sockets here and there along the way. Tammy, apparently not fully understanding what awaits him, begins to get more and more nervous. The higher the heroes climb, the more they do not hear a strange sound like a knock. On the right floor, the entire corridor is painted with the same symbol eyes. Tammy pulls away and accidentally touches one of the drawings, groping with his fingers in the dark center of the recess, from which a real human eye rolls out into his hand. Out of the darkness appears the outline of a figure that says aloud, "Where is the eye?" The knocking stopped. A new mutant runs out to meet him. He flies to the half, but then Kura comes forward, hitting the monster's head with a shovel, without causing him any damage. Without paying any attention to this, the mutant says here are the eyes, taking Tamiya, who was stupefied with fear, with both paws. The beak of the creature parted the eyelids from Samisaki, and then carefully removed one eye. Snatching the man from the clutches of a satisfied bird, the others ran away. There I am alive, but I lost my right eye. Now the mutant holds this organ in both paws. Approaching one of the drawings, he made a hole in the wall with his beak, placing an organ there. An unknown man in a bandana understands that in front of them is not just a bird, but a cross between a man and a woodpecker. Outside the city, Shitoki woke up with a strong fever. The girl continues to ask where the bark is. Hinata explains that Akeboshi has gone to get medicines and promises that he will return in the morning. But it's too late in the morning, she needs to be by his side. A little later, Misaki woke Hinata up. Toki flew to the clinic through the window. And in the hospital, the woodpecker continues to walk down the corridor, asking out loud where his eye is. He's standing on the way to the warehouse with medicines, it's just not going to work to sneak past. Therefore, Coral says that the only way in this situation is to defeat the monster. But how to defeat him, if even a blow with a shovel to a mutant was nothing? It seems that they have some kind of plan. It's not that difficult if you understand the anatomy of the creature. Everyone is ready to start. Asanota asks Kurou if he is really ready to kill, but yes, Akeboshi will do anything for Toki. Going out into the corridor, the main character begins to make noise with a shovel. The woodpecker reacts by following the bark into the ward, continuing to ask the same thing. Where are my eyes? His attention is immediately distracted by a loud alarm clock, and he does what is planned. He sits down next to me. Silence. She should be in the hospital. Silence, says the woodpecker. Asanota flies out from the side with a scalpel. Immediately we are told about the details of the plan to kill the woodpecker, which is based on knowledge of the anatomy of the creature. I made a small digression again. Woodpeckers are primarily known as birds that peck trees all the time with their beaks. The impact speed is about 20 in 1 second. So that the brain does not shake, and the eyeballs do not fly out, they have one feature. And here, there is a little confusion. In the manga, it is described that the woodpecker has a special structure of the tongue, which, like a safety belt, protects the head from recoil. That's probably why he didn't give a damn about the shovel strike. If you cut off a woodpecker's tongue and then hit it on the head, it will work. However, thanks to the holy translators, we know that everything is not quite right here. It's not the tongue, but the hyoid bone that protects the skull. The main thing that can confuse is that the bone itself is not outside, but inside the head. Therefore, the plan would not have worked in any way without 100% luck. But at the same time, it can also be taken as a convention, because we are not looking at a woodpecker, but a person mutated into it. In general, it can be assumed that in the process of hybridization, some anatomical features came out differently. That's it, let's move on. Asonoda attacks, but it's not enough. The woodpecker catches him by the head, and with the words "I found," the cute little eye is preparing to attack. During the lunge, the bark substitutes a shovel, taking over the enemy's attention on itself. While the man in the bandana takes the doctor away, he shouts that Akeboshi should use the remaining eye in the body of the dead nurse. After all, now it is nothing more than a body. Coral grabs the corpse and throws it to the woodpecker. He is distracted by her, preparing to remove the eye, as the doctor attacks again, cutting the second tape of the slashbone tongue. Akeboshi then delivers a crushing blow, shattering the creature's skull. After that, Korra became ill. In parallel with this, we see a current flying across the sky. In the hospital, not wanting to waste time, the others began to fill the bag with medicines. And Keboshi seems to have become even worse. His head is spinning, the picture before his eyes is blurred, as than in the burning hall. He thought it was carbon monoxide, but it seems to be something else. Coral says it out loud. The owner of the house comments that it's better than losing an eye. A man in a bandana asks Tammy to take a break. Tammy notices that this is the first outing. He promised his wife that he would not go on a trip with the whole family. But then this apocalypse happened, and now he doesn't even know if his wife is alive at all. Raven reminds that even so Tamiya can decide what to do next. He still has one eye, and the owner of the house can still look into the face of his beloved daughter. While they are talking, something quietly takes away an unnamed man in a bandana. Suddenly, something falls in front of Koru's bleary eyes. This is the head of their companion without eyes. Everyone looks up and sees a creature that looks like a chimera with wings on top of its head, and the head of woodpeckers sticking out from all sides. Everyone ran to the exit. A shapeless something rushed after him. After descending to the first floor, Koru realizes that it is getting harder for him. His head is spinning more and more, and his vision is getting foggier. The creature grabs Tamiya and starts pulling her towards it. Akeboshi releases the owner, and when he gets up, pushes the main character towards the chimera. Turning to the main character, who has already begun to be dragged down by a shapeless mass, he repeats his apologies. Tammy just wants to see the face of her daughter Asonoda once again, and Tamiya is followed out by another creature, this mutated Koru, who is still fighting the chimera. He breaks out, tears the creature from the inside, which roars in pain, and immediately returns to the hospital. In the form of an infected Asonoda, he takes out a scalpel, but then the current dives down. Spreading her wings, she asks not to touch Akeboshi. She had never dared to tell Korra before that he was infected. But it doesn't matter now, as long as he drinks her blood. After biting the girl in the shoulder, the main character comes to himself. She hugs him, they say that everything will be fine. A little later, when the heroes got out of the hospital, a mutant raven flew up to the building. He forcefully pulled out the chimera and devoured it. In the meantime, we're going back to Tamiya's house. Dr. Asonoda asks the girl how long has she been feeding the bark with her blood. In general, we can say that every day. The doctor notices that her blood slows down the mutation, and if Akeboshi stops drinking it, he will turn into a mutant. He asks who she is, when suddenly Hinata's phone rang. This is a scarecrow, which immediately explains that the current is an angel. An unknown person in a bird mask says that the girl is very important, and the doctor immediately guesses that her blood contains antibodies. The scarecrow begins the explanation. He calls the infected Garuda, and everything that is happening now, in his opinion, is nothing, because soon the birds will cross the oceans. And then the problem will cease to be a problem of Japan alone. However, a vaccine can be made from the angel's blood. Coral remembers that he almost killed Tolka, despite the promise to protect him, and therefore asks why she gave him her blood. The girl replies that the blood does not affect anyone else except Akeboshi. Only thinks that Koru is special, and she also says that she loves him. Akeboshi saved her on the plane, even though he didn't know anything about her. He saved her then in a fire, and when he saw her ugly hand, he was not afraid, but squeezed it tighter. And she loves everyone else too, both Haru-chan and Dr. San. She doesn't want anything to happen to them, and therefore is only going to go to Tokyo to the scarecrow. Then she asks Koru, let's go to Tokyo together. In an unknown mask, the bird interrupts the idol, which warns that it's time for the heroes to escape. Time came with other survivors. He told everyone about the infected, so it's useless to hide. While his daughter is crying, the father demands that the heroes get out. They will all go to Tokyo together, and Hinata is with them, and the doctor is a doctor. In the car, Kurou smiles at the girl and says that he will accompany her to Tokyo, anywhere. While the car is leaving, Angel's first friend runs behind with tears in her eyes, waving goodbye. Toki also wants to wave, but is shy of his paws. Akeboshi says that everything is fine. Seeing the mutant hand, Misaki freezes for a second, but then continues to wave. A joyful Misaki returns home, meeting her mutated father along the way. The way to Tokyo passes through Osaka, which they reached in 3 days. It is becoming increasingly difficult to move from abandoned cars in the city. Dr. Asanoda suggests changing the route and going by sea. This way, they will reduce the travel time from a month to a week. But first they will rest and gather provisions in Osaka. As they enter the city, they see dead hang mountains on the street. Judging by the fact that bullet holes are visible in them, this is the work of a man. While they are driving, we see a figure with a rifle on the roof. The unknown shot, punching the wheel. Hinata didn't realize that it was a shot, deciding that she just punctured the tire and went outside. As soon as he sat down, a Garuda owl was already approaching from the side. Grabbing the girl, the mutant roared. Toki immediately rushed after Hinata, but the owl did not fly far away. The bullet of an unknown shooter pierced his head. The companion is saved, but now you need to understand what kind of person with a gun. But he himself came out to meet them, pointing the muzzle of a machine gun, asking who they were and what they had forgotten here. The guy takes the barrel aside to finish off the owl, and then turns the muzzle back on our group. Grabbing the weapon, Korit immediately knocked the unknown to the ground. Then another person comes out of the building, Kujo, a guy who is personally familiar with Akeboshi. He offers his hospitality as an apology. Anyway, we need to leave, because it will soon get dark, and night is the time for hunting. The shooter's name is Jim Kaipei himself. While he pretentiously introduces himself, the rest of the company eats peacefully. Akeboshi told Kujo where they were going and for what purpose. Hinata suddenly wondered what kind of relationship Kurou and Kujo had in general. The first one says that there are none, which only saddens the one who provided shelter, because they are connected. Kurou had been chasing Kuya for a very long time earlier. That's how we all find out that Akeboshi Kurou was a policeman. The Quran asks to explain why the mutant corpses were hung up in Osaka, and why Potts shot at them at all. The answer is simple: it's his hobby, to play hunting in broad daylight. Kaipei himself explains that this is so that people entering are afraid, seeing this picture, and get out. And he fired at the car to make our group alert, because it was approaching the nest. Asano will interrogate to clarify what kind of nest. This is the habitat of all the urban policies that occupied the Osaka's tower. Owls are dangerous opponents, because of the structure of the face. They are like a parabolic antenna, able to pick up even the quietest sounds. And they fly so quietly that the victim may not even notice them until it's too late. Due to the fact that owls are excessively cruel here, other vegetable gardens are wary of flying into Osaka. Mutants mostly sleep during the day, so it's relatively safe here at this time of day. Our hero Snanov Kaipei promises that he will destroy all the birds, and then goes into the cow. Kuya warns him not to shoot at night. The second one promises that he will not, because he still wants to live. Korra notices a phone that has a photo of Kaipei and a person similar to him on the screensaver. Kujo looks at his watch and says it's time to wrap up. Now it's time for owls, so everyone should try not to make a sound until morning. Leaving only one candle, the others settled down to rest. Kura smokes in a whisper, asking if everything will be okay with boiling. The mobster replies that there's nothing to be done. Kip won't listen to him, and then notices that Toka, who looks like a younger sister, is talking about Akeboshi. He wants to say that they are similar in their love for older brothers, and he, in turn, sees a giant Garunda on the street. Saying out loud, "I found him." He raises the machine gun with the words that he is sure that this person would not want to kill and eat other people. So he will definitely kill the older brother of Flashback Kaipe. As a child, he called his older brother. Tom was disgusted that the younger one calls him that, and therefore asks him to stop. Now the kid pulls the trigger. But Karen's advice doesn't matter. From the sounds of gunshots, the whole pack gathered in the shelter. Kujo is going to get the kid back, because if he loses the younger one, he won't be able to look at the boss's face in the next world. Going to the locker, he takes the machine gun and hands it to Korra. He takes the katana himself. The main character was given a weapon only for protection, but Akeboshi is going to help too. In this case, Koju promises that if they get out of this mess alive, they will cross to Tokyo by boat with the mafia. They go out into the street and attract the attention of owls to themselves with an automatic cue. Meanwhile, Kaipei continues to try to lure his brother out. Using fireworks to confuse the others, he easily deals with all the owls. Only the brother remains. And he sees his image right in front of him. The elder asks the younger to learn how to choose an expression, but the illusion dissipates. And a mutant turns out to be in front of him. He invites the younger one to go with him. The owl's body opens, but the monster does not have time to do anything. Coral and Kuju appear and open fire. Under the screams, so that he would not be disturbed, and Akeboshi picks up the kid and carries him away. There are too many birds in the sky, but there is only nothing left until dawn. They are chased from behind by a fellow who attacks the bark. Kite begins to fall from the bridge into the river with the dead, but Akeboshi manages to catch him. Koruda is about to attack when Kujo appears. He also uses fireworks to distract the attention of all mutants. Kip will save. The guy is crying because he could not kill his brother. Returning to the building, Kaipe, Kujo, and Kurou see signs of a struggle, Asanoda's drooping face, and Toku crying. The owls drag Hinata away. When the guys left to help Kippa, the owls penetrated from somewhere above. Asanoda went to check. At this time Hinata and Toka hid in a box. Soon one or found them right there. While the doctor was dealing with one with himself, the other began to drag the girls away. In flight, Hinata released the current into Asanoda's hands. Kuju says that maybe the girl is still alive. Many people are kept in the tower to eat later or feed the chick. The doctor suggests remembering why they are here and why Hinata let the girl out of her hands. They can only accept it. A little later, Kippea meets the cows on the roof. He hands him the phone he found in the room. The second one says that their father always decided everything for them. The eldest son was supposed to inherit their grouping. In a flashback, the father swung his hand at the younger Kaipe. But the elder Yusuke protected him from the blow. The children are talking about leaving the family. During this dialogue, the elder says that he would go to Tokyo. There he will buy a house, get married, have a bunch of children, and live in peace. Junior is going to go with him. But then this day came, the day of the bird attack. The father turned first. Just as when Yusuke shielded his brother from his father's blow, so now the elder one shielded the younger one from the bite. The father pounced on top and began to eat Yusaki. Kips, hoping to help, hit him with a vase. Kujo came up later. Yusaki asks him to pick up the younger one, but he does not want to leave. The elder would like to always remain a brother to the younger, but apparently this is not destined to happen. In Tokyo or anywhere else, but live, got it, Kaipe. This is my last wish. Yusuke died, and later turned into a monster. And now the younger one wants to finally put the older one to rest. After listening to his story, and going down to the others, Akeboshi said that he did not intend to leave Hinata. At night, Asanoda turned on the siren in the car. The owls immediately rushed to the source of the sound. Coral, Kujo, and Kaipe headed to the tower. It will be necessary to move quietly, so use firearms only as a last resort. Toki will be waiting for the others below. If something happens, he will fly to them. Having made their way inside, the heroes do not see any birds. They slowly make their way to the elevator and call him. When the doors open, there is a giant mutated creature sitting on a mountain of corpses in front of them. The monster is sleeping, so they intend to climb to the very top, while trying not to wake him up. While the owls are dragging people to feed them to someone unknown, Hinata thinks that he does not want to die. Suddenly her phone vibrates. The scarecrow gets in touch. He informs her that Coral is coming to rescue her. The masked man cannot allow anything to happen to the main character, and therefore he will also participate. The scarecrow says to look deep into the room. There's a guard bird sitting there, and all you need to save yourself is just to fill up this bird. And surprisingly, it's not that difficult. The hands mutated into wings, which means that the keys were transformed into a boomerang shape for flying. If you break this very collarbone, the bird will no longer be able to fly. Taking a fire extinguisher, Hinata is going to hit Garuda. At this time, our heroes are still in the elevator. The feed notices that something is wrong. The door opens, and Garuda's monstrous face appears in the opening. Jumping back, Kaipe drops one of the fireworks, the sound of which wakes up what was sleeping behind them. Here Toki flies up, distracting the attention of one owl to himself. Kuya immediately attacks the second one with his katana. They run out to the observation deck, where Hinata Haru has already defeated the guard's bird and see Yusuke behind her, who is about to attack her. Everyone immediately open fire. Sounds are heard from the ceiling from the side. The owl brother is immediately distracted to calm the brood of chicks. At this time, Asanoda hides, watching the owls attack the car with the siren on. Suddenly something else catches his attention. What he saw then in the school gym is a giant mutant raven. But now he also has a baby on his head. We are transported back to the tower. The birds are screaming. Yosuke is trying to calm them down by feeding a couple of people. Seeing this picture, the Kips recall the childhood dream of their older brother. From this, he loses control and rushes forward with a weapon. "Fuck you," he shouts. "What kind of dream is this? Be ordinary. I'm your family, not them." He opens fire, despite the fact that ordinary bullets don't take Yusuke. Junior takes out dynamite and sets it on fire with the words, "I won't leave you alone." When the wick is lit and the owl has exposed the cavity of its belly, Kaipei smiles. "Let's go together, brother." Yusuke attacked with thorns from the belly, but the bark was exposed to the blow, simultaneously snatching dynamite. Having started mutating again, Akeboshi asks, "Will you kill your brother, despite the fact that you are the eldest? Let's figure it out, like a monster against a monster." With these words, the main character throws dynamite into the belly cavity. An explosion is heard. From afar, a giant raven flies to the tower, riding on which is a girl who says, "I can smell my brother. Due to a strong explosion and shaking, the tower will soon fall." The current flies up to the others. Korra attacks Yusuke again. The girl asks Akeboshi to drink her blood, but there is no time. Instead, he asks to get out of here, quote, "A reckless moron boiling, and he will take care of this guy for now." The Quran asks not to worry about him. He has a plan, and he's not going to die. Hearing this, Toki picks up this reckless moron boiling and flies to the exit. The younger brother shouts that he wants to stay with his brother. Salva Yusuke reacts to his brother's distance and turns around. Taking advantage of this chance, Akeboshi pulled out a claw, and with the words, "Let's finishing the axe." The fight is over. We need to get out of here. The stairs are destroyed, most likely the elevator is also not working. But there is still a chance to escape. The mutant Bart's hair turned into wings. He's trying to get everyone down. Suddenly, a giant raven flies over the current and reckless moron of a CN, knocking them down. The two begin to fall, when suddenly Yusuke quickly swoops down from the tower. The Osaka Tower began to fall apart completely. Going down, Akeboshi sees the wreckage of the building flying straight at them. A little later, going out to the scene of the action, Inoda finds the body of Saul Yusuke, and then is surprised to notice that under the wings of Garuda, Kip and Toka. Waking up, the younger one cries, realizing that in the last minutes of his life, Yusuke saved him. Removing the cap from his head, the boy covers the mutant's face. After Kasanoki, Hinata and Kuju run out. When debris rained down from above, Kurou threw them away. It is unknown where he is now. Looking at the wreckage of the tower, the heroes see a bird. "Despite the fact that I've been waiting for a long time, you still don't come. That's why I decided to meet you myself," says the child sitting on horseback. A flashback about Akeboshi Kurou begins. His sister's name is Naki. She's lying on the floor and drawing something. Kurou says that he will be late at work and will return only in the morning. Now the sister has to hurry up because she will be late for school. Akeboshi comes closer and Naki immediately tries to hide his drawing with the words, "You can't look." After all, it's time for both of them to leave, so the main character offers to pray and move out. When they finished with the prayer, they immediately rushed into the corridor. Finally, Naki asks his older brother if he is staying late today. Instead of answering, Kurou himself asks the question, "But what? Today is some special day. It seems that today is not your birthday." Naki tries to say something, but Akeboshi interrupts her. "Yes, I understand," he says. "I tried to come back early today." Naki asks for the floor, and Kurou gives it. When he closes the door behind him, the younger sister turns gloomy, saying, "Stupid brother, today is your birthday." Showing her gift a drawing depicting him and her. A little later, Naki went to school. Classmates ran along the way, who, it turns out, bullied the policeman's sister. Calling her a ghost, the children pour chalk dust on her head, saying, get out, ghost." The girl did not go to school, instead deciding to find a quiet place to finish the drawing. So she comes to a secluded wasteland surrounded by a fence with signs warning that this is private property. Before she could really settle down, an unknown man in a balaclava and with a backpack jumped over the fence. Bullets flew from behind and the man dropped the bag dead. A sniper from the side of the object announced that the target had been eliminated, and it was necessary to return the cargo as soon as possible. Because of him, the whole of Japan could fall. At this time, Anaki's curiosity made her open the bag, and inside she finds an egg. It immediately cracked. A mutated chick peeked out and bit Nucky's finger. The girl decided to leave, but the mutant followed her. On the way after the bite, the younger sister became ill, a fever began, everything swam before her eyes. She is scared. The girl asks her brother to save her. She doesn't come back alone anymore. Crows began circling around Nucky. On the street again, there are those bullies who sprinkled chalk on the girl's head was not enough. Since the ghost still hadn't disappeared, they decided to try another method to throw a stone at her head. It starts bleeding early. The pursuing birds begin to feed on it. Thinking about why cows always leaves her alone, Naki takes his head, asking him to come back. Later, an announcement was made on the police radio. A homicidal maniac has appeared in a residential area. Children who were returning home from school were killed. Hearing the address, Akeboshi Kurou realizes that it happened not far from his house, and therefore hurries back, and sees blood and feathers everywhere. The main character opens the door and enters his house. It's all covered in blood. The younger sister is sitting at the window. Turning around with the words, "Why did you break the promise?" the girl throws a sketchbook into the feed. Nucky spreads his wings, flying up from the ceiling, saying, "As always, you leave me alone. But if it's you, I don't care about the reasons. I just want to be with you. Therefore, I ask you to become the same." The younger sister releases a mutant chick from her hands, which is about to bite him. But suddenly, someone grabs the monster by the head. Next, this man stabs something into Akeboshi's neck, and he falls unconscious. I manage to catch Noah, but the girl seems to have escaped. The Scarecrow is trying to figure out how to be in such a situation. Then he has a plan. Akeboshi Kurou will be the scapegoat. He is the culprit in the deaths of children. And then together they will be able to find a way to save this child. "Brother, take me away." We see her birthday drawing, which the younger sister finally finished. Now in Osaka, sitting on a big crow, Naki commands Noah to find Akeboshi. Seeing the sense, she says that the girl is only her fake and has no right to behave as if her brother belongs to her. The Scarecrow gets in touch via the phone, in which he explains that this is Akeboshi's sister and she is the source of the pandemic. Nucky screams and hundreds of mutant birds appear. While the heroes are running, an unknown masked man continues to talk to Naki Patient Zero, in whose body the antibodies appeared. And Kurou's body has the necessary receptors for their assimilation. Previously, Naki's whereabouts were unknown, but he was with her and during this time, he managed to grow up. The overgrown bird itself believes that the younger Akeboshi is his mother. At the moment, Korra is alive, and the Scarecrow even knows where to look for him. That's just the mutation is progressing greatly, and he will finally become a Gouda very soon, which is exactly what Naki wants. In addition, the younger one has another goal: the current. Nucky wants to kill the fake. We get another flashback. In it, the Scarecrow approaches little Toka with an important conversation. Soon she will go to Tokyo. Unfortunately, the masked man himself will need to leave earlier. A catastrophe is about to happen, and it is necessary that the angel be taken to an institution in Tokyo. There will be a person on the same flight who has the necessary receptors. This is her, in quotes, real big brother, so they will get along. So we find out that the current clone of Naki, the real younger sister, knows about this, and therefore hates the angel. "You stole my place," she shouts, sending birds ahead. Other people are not indifferent, but since Toka continues to hide, Naki will send even more of her subjects. And everyone she loves will become their dinner. There are more and more mutants. The clone remembers Korn's smile, and suddenly takes off to meet Nucky. When the second one sent the birds to attack, the girl also starts screaming. The movement of the birds became chaotic, and the attack stopped. The Scarecrow explains that this ability is called singing, and Toka imitates Naki's orders, confusing her servants. The birds don't understand what's going on, because one order is to kill everyone, the other is to save everyone. Continuing to fight, he only thinks the following: maybe I'm a fake, maybe a monster. But there was a person who was worried about me. There was a man who hugged me tightly, and there was a man who squeezed my hand. Kurou and I love a world that has all of them. Nikki screams. Garuda appears behind Toki. Kaipe kills the creature. They will scooge to cover the angel. The others returned to the tower to find food. Well, and already there. At this time, hearing and remembering the others, Akeboshi struggles with himself. Must be a sister, says one voice. Should be a drain, says another. Must become a monster, the first one continues. I have to go to Tokyo, the second one argues. Hinata lifts the phone into the air. The Scarecrow reproduces the singing of Toki through the speakers with the order to save. Then the mutant raven begins to disassemble the wreckage. The girl asks where exactly the bark is, but the man in the raven mask suddenly expresses doubts about saving the main character. Because Nucky is the only family member for him, so there is a possibility that he will choose to become a monster. Plus, he initially drew attention to the currents because of the similarity with the real sister. And it also played a role that his mind was clouded due to medications. Taking advantage of this feeling, false information was put into him, and a new identity was created for him. The identity of the criminal. So does it make sense to save him now, when there is a chance that Korm will choose a real sister? But Asanoda believes Wakeboshi, believes that he will make the right choice. Meanwhile, Ker's thoughts are confused in his head. The bright human side. He hears the battle, thinks about his friends. The dark monstrous side thinks, what's so bad about it? After all, Nucky just wants to be with his older brother. The death of tens of thousands, or life with a real sister. To stop his sister, he would have to kill her. But suddenly it dawns on him. He'd rather do that than turn into a monster and watch the whole world die. Nikki, meanwhile, hit Toki. The second one starts to fall. Korra hears it all. Angel catches Hinata, but the girl does not immediately come to her senses. Akeboshi looks at his hands, thinking that it's too late, even Toki's blood won't stop the mutation anymore. He thinks, does he really need to choose one of the sides? Naki gave the command to kill. Well, and about to attack Akeboshi's friends, all the heroes are called Kura. The Scarecrow also speaks, asking the main character to bring Toki to Tokyo, but at the same time remaining human. Well, he attacks, but then he is stopped by the mutant Keboshi. He smiles again, apologizing to the clone that he can't go to Tokyo with her. Then he tears off one of his hands, the one that still has a human appearance, and asks the girl to take her to Tokyo. The coral itself will stay here and protect the others. This is the third option that he chose so as not to lose anyone. Taking his limb, Toki screams, promising that he will save everyone, including Kor, and then flies away to Tokyo with tears. Kornoji stretches out his remaining hand to his younger sister Naki. So, 10 years have passed. I'm back on track. Civilization has been restored. After so much time, the grown-up current finally meets with her friends. Kuji and Kaipei arrived in the city, and Hinata came with her children. The next one we see is Kier-kun's father. Well, that is, Asanoda should soon begin a mourning ceremony for all those who died during this incident. There is some time before it starts, so the characters communicate nicely on the bench. Everyone will go there, and Sanoda will give an introductory speech at all. When the event begins, the current receives a text message from the Scarecrow. The presenter announces the exit of the one, thanks to which the apocalypse ended. But having lowered her tears, the angel says that she must go and runs away. A little later, she is met by a Scarecrow in an updated skin. All this time, Kura was in a coma, but now he began to show signs of life. They enter the room where Nucky is sitting with Grant. The second sarcastically remarks that Vorav Katyan could have stayed at the ceremony and played angel. Toki doesn't care about the jokes, so she answers Lee that she will need to apologize to everyone later. Then she turns to Kora. They say that today I finally met with the others. They're all doing well. Everyone would like to talk to him. At this time, on the roof, the Scarecrow notices that there are no more birds, people have destroyed them. At least, there are only chickens left that can lay eggs. Suddenly the instruments crackled. Naki and Toki loomed over the older brother. Akeboshi Kurou opened his eyes. The end. Mango Bird of Death first of all hooked me with a drawing. In some moments, the author makes just incredible beauty. Especially every 2-page spread. Well, there are just no words. And the manga is really good but only before the trip to Osaka. I don't know about you, but the further it goes, the stronger the feeling that the author didn't just already care about the story. And he was tired of it, and that it was as if he had been replaced by another mangaka, who passed on what was happening, only from the words of the editor. Yes, there were conventions and embarrassing moments before Osaka, but then everything began to slide into some kind of absurdity. And not only that, but I was also infuriated by suddenly the most revealed character of all in this manga. I'm talking about the so-called reckless moron Kaipe. Before Osaka, Mango felt like a pretty grim apocalypse. Birds are fast and deadly, each species has its own characteristics that help to hunt people, or that help to play on the atmosphere. As in the case of the same shrikes or woodpeckers. But suddenly all this turns into a battle of the offended venom with the anti-venom, and Keboshi has to choose who he is, a trembling ghoul, or an Iran who has the right. And not wanting to choose either, he becomes Ulquiorra. I don't mind even an open ending. But here it seems that mangaki was just too lazy to explain further. Well, that's it, the virus has been defeated. 10 years have passed and humanity has been able to recover. Yes, Naki has slaughtered hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions. But now everything is fine. Yes, the birds have been destroyed, but in my world, this will not lead to an ecological catastrophe. Yes, Akeboshi has changed in appearance, but he is still alive. But the worst thing is that I'm not sure that I would like to see all the explanations from the author, because he has already tried to explain. Here the Scarecrow is not revealed at all, and I seem to be even pleased with this. But again, the first half of the manga, as for me, is excellent. I won't lie when I say that I couldn't tear myself away from it, but the whole work is no longer perceived very well. No, after such an ending, we are definitely obliged to have fun with you from the labors of Masai Hakazan. Well, now you can share how you like the Birds of Death, especially how you like the final arch in Osaka. It will be very interesting to find out. And for today I have everything. I love everyone, and for everyone so far.